People have often asked me, how is it that you've stayed in the ministry with Campus Crusade for 46 years? For me, being on staff has not been easy. I almost left staff probably 20 times in 46 years. And there were times where I felt like bailing out and quitting. Frankly, my first 2 or 3 years were very, very difficult. I was scared to death. And I really struggled in how to relate the gospel to secular students. And in those days, we had a very strong policy that you were supposed to get 15 non-Christian appointments a week. And it was defined by going all the way through the prayer and the 4 spiritual laws. Now, in those days, we didn't have a 4 spiritual law booklet. We would sit down with students and we'd write out on a napkin or a sheet of paper, and literally it'd take us a whole hour to get through the gospel by the time we wrote it all out and did the diagrams and all of this. And boy, at the end of the day, you were exhausted because you were just going through this hour-long presentation. And because I was taking surveys, there would be many times when I would go to all this effort, but I'd never get all the way through the prayer and ask a person to receive Christ because maybe they were interested or whatever. And I couldn't count that as one of my 15 appointments. So what happened is I began to get under a gloom cloud of legalism. What was going on in my mind was, if I can't please Campus Crusade, how in the world can I please God? And that was a dead-end street for me. And it became such an issue for me that I felt like I was close to having a nervous breakdown my 3rd year on staff. In fact, I remember going back to Wheaton College, and Nan and I went to a concert, and I was sitting in my seat and I felt like standing up and screaming. That was how much pressure I was feeling. And I remember I was ready to quit. And here, man, what do I tell my dad, because 3 years before I was talking about the joy of the Lord and being filled with the Spirit, and I knew He'd seen a change in my life, and now here I am depressed and under a gloom cloud of legalism and just really struggling in my faith as a full-time Christian worker. And hey, that's not cool to talk about things like that you're struggling with. But I finally got up my nerve to go back and talk to my dad, and I just said, Dad, I'm really struggling and I'm feeling under the pile. And he looked at me and says, well, you can always leave staff. I said, well, really? And now, you may think that was negative, but really that was good because it took the pressure off. And God used that then to help me in my thinking to realize, hey, if I'm not good enough to be on staff, that's tough. All God wants me to do is to be faithful and leave the results to Him. And I can't produce anything. I can't change anybody's life. I can't even get 15 non-Christian appointments a week. All I can do is to try my best in the power of the Spirit and learn to be more effective and leave the results to God. So I went back, and God, by His grace, really began to change my whole attitude. And now ministry became fun. Now it became an adventure. And just to fast forward, in the next 2 or 3 years, over 200 and some plus students came to know Christ at the beginning of the ministry, and it was just a wonderful, exciting time. And the Lord began to show me that, wherever you are in life, you're going to have challenges and negative situations. But if God called you to come into this ministry, then I believe God will call me off when it's time to leave. And that I shouldn't just leave for a negative reason because of discouragement or things aren't perfect or things aren't working out in my life. And that conviction has really saved me a number of times when I was that close to bailing out.